exactly the same thing, Blue. Should I like
It's
unmute
fine.
him and
It's
he's gonna
fine.
go unmute like
It's
expert or
fine.
whatever?
I'm not muted anymore. You guys aren't muted. You guys weren't muted. We're good. We're good.
All
Fine.
right,
Let's do
cool.
Dave's stuff.
Yeah, let's focus on what matters
I'm
most.
excited about
Dave.
Dave's.
Okay, so what is uh, Romaya's um, initiation thing going to be?
Okay, thinking about this, and I think I would like, what I would like to have accomplished is for them to let me carry the Book of the King of Life that I translated myself.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What language would this be translated from? Is this like some ancient?
Yeah, I guess like whatever the equivalent of like Hebrew is.
Okay, yeah. So there's some old language, and like
Yeah.
probably the scholars and stuff that talk about it think that it's somehow related to the language that the mountain people have. But
Yeah, something like that.
because the mountain people don't have any written language because they're in more of an oral tradition, there's no way to like substantiate that claim. And because this language is a dead language with no spoken component, again, there's no way to substantiate any link between the two of them. So
Yeah.
folks have like recently remade up a way to like speak this other language, and it's similar to the mountain folks language.
Yeah, I probably like heard the idea from someone while I was at college. So when I came to do my dog training, I was like, I want to show, I want to prove my like devotion by using all the learning that I did to have this very special copy that like I put all my heart and soul into.
Right. And of course, people are a little bit suspicious of you having all this book learning. So this is also a way that you can be like, hey, like my knowledge is going back into the faith. I'm not some like hoity-toity,
Yeah.
think I'm better than everyone else kind of educated
Yeah.
person. Okay, cool. So you're gonna make a new translation of the Book of Life.
Yeah, I think maybe if I've already translated it and I'm trying to convince somebody that I
Okay,
should be allowed
cool.
to, because as going out as a dog, you have to have a book, and I want the book that I carry to be my book. So I
Cool.
think it's rather interesting in that I have my own book, or if I fail, I carry two books.
Yeah, you have your translation and then the correct one.
Or maybe if you fail, they destroy the one you translated. What?
Oh man, it
Because
probably
it's
could.
totally heresy or something. I don't know.
It could be. Yeah.
Yeah, well, basically, if like if this goes poorly for you, then you're going to be carrying around. I think it's going to inform what your dice are for that thing. If they like are like no, you can't, then it can be a 1d4 self-translated book of life. And if
Mhm.
it's if
If
this
it
goes
if
well
it
for you,
can, then
also
it'll be
your
two
dice
d
for that thing
six.
can be
Yeah.
better. Okay, great. So this is totally acuity and heart. You're talking to someone. You're trying to convince them.
Okay.
So go ahead and roll your talking dice plus any relevant traits and relationships that apply immediately.
Okay.
And I will roll just my usual dice. I roll for all of these conflicts. Oh, and I rolled a 10.
And everyone.
I mean, I'm rolling 4d10. It's pretty.
And you rolled two tens so far, and a
Okay.
9 and a 10 last time. I feel like you have Adam Juju.
Look, I'm also good at role playing games.
Okay, so I think my relationships that are relevant to the stakes of this is I have a D6 relationship with the dogs that I think represents the fact that I've come in from a non-standard place.
Mm-hmm.
I also think my relationship to pride is on the line. Whether something I've created is like
Yeah, this is you struggling with your pride because it's very prideful for you to say that you should be able to bring your own translation of the Book of Life,
absolutely.
and that yours will somehow be better than that of the of your forebears and your elders and your betters. So great. Thanks for that, Dave. That's wonderful.
All right, I've got a lot of traits that feed into this. Actually, I've made them quite broad. I've done the relationships and the traits around the wrong way, but I think the trait that is immediately relevant is a D4 trait that things in the East are very different.
Oh yeah, totally. Because this is not an idea that anyone around here who like grew up and stayed in the community would ever be like, well, this is a great idea, we should do a new translation. It would be like, oh well, it's already done and they've done it correctly and we just like do what's in this book. So yeah.
Okay, that's a
Ooh.
lot of dice.
Ooh.
That is a lot of ones.
1s, 2s,
did
and
not roll.
3s. Oh my
Okay.
god.
You rolled 1 4 and everything else is lower than 4.
Oh
on,
my
like,
god. What did you
roll
have there?
dice.
You've had D6s.
Ripperino.
And a lot of dice too. Cool.
This is gonna
That's
be
gonna be
great.
interesting. We'll have a
This
fun
is
time.
gonna be really great.
Taking a lot of fallout. I think I like that you can take a lot of fallout in this early thing, and I like the idea of having one that's going to be long lasting from this, because it just
Very
helps
good
like
on
flesh out the
that.
character, right?
And so, yeah, you were trying to convince Sister Waitstill, who is in charge of this like temple where y'all are getting educated. And she's quite a bit older. She still wears her like dog coat, which is now like, well worn, really like patched up, and some of the leather in like key places is like cracking or has been polished smooth by like years of rubbing up against other stuff. And yeah, like all the colors are kind of starting to fade from it. And she just carries this like weight when she speaks. And you're like you're at her like bunk, her little like room, which is quite like utilitarian and small. Like she lives very humbly here. And she's got a little table with a candle on it. It's in the evening. There's like not a lot of light, and there's kind of like the hushed sounds of other conversations and people like ending their days behind you in the hallway. And we come into this scene with her just saying, no, absolutely not.
All right.
And just for everyone's reference, like we can be really fluid with time in all of these conflicts. So it can be like, Dave's like, cool. She says no, and like take the blow, and then just be like, a week later, I'm there again trying to do it. Or, like we can kind of like cut the scope of conflicts can vary, and we can be really fluid with how we handle that. The game can take that kind of stuff pretty well.
Right. Well.
So this could happen over a long period of time if you want it to, or we can like do flashbacks, all that kind of stuff. We can kind of change things up.
Okay. Well, I'm willing to have at least a little bit of an argument now, and I think the reason that I'm willing to do that instead of just listen to her is that I tend to think before I listen, which is a D8 trait, which I want to roll in.
You tend to think before you listen?
Yep. So I've already made up my mind.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. So I'll block. What's the sister's name again?
Sister Waitstill.
Okay. I've not practiced the voice. Let's give it a go. Well, all due respect, sister. I've been working on it some time. I think there's some maybe the way they do it back east don't match what we do here, but if and all this pans out, there's much we can learn from the ways of the mountain folk.
Okay, and what is your raise there, or is that both? Kind of sounds like it might be both.
It might be both. I think I'm going to raise. Yeah, I think the raise is that. And the Lord of Life, he said himself that we got to give a chance to all them to join the flock themselves. But if they can't, they ain't got any words to say. That's what I'm bringing to you now.
Well, Sister Waite still like pauses and considers, and this is kind of her way of talking. She's like the opposite of you, where you like have already made up your mind instead of listening to the other person. She like actually deliberates on what you said and then like formulates her response. And it's kind of like nodding and like doing that weird like old people smacking their mouth thing.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, what you need to understand, Ramya, about where we're sending you and what we're sending you there to do is that out there in the community, that's where the faith is. The faith isn't a book. It is a living thing. And it is not expressed in words. It is expressed in actions. And so your ideas about giving these words to people, they ain't a pile of shit out there. Out there, what matters is sweat and work. So that's a 17.
It sure is.
And it's just this like stern old lady. She's like, you know, she looks like she's carved out of wood, and she's got this like weathered coat of the order. Like she's the baddest ass that you
Holy shit, that's like
And she's just
more
like-
than all your dice.
telling you how it is out there in the real world.
All right. Okay. I mean, I'm gonna have to take the blow, but I think for the time being, I bow. Say, give me some strong ideas to think on. Perhaps you are indeed right. I'll take my leave for today. Okay, I'm gonna take it.
Can you even take the blow? Do you have 17?
Well, I'm gonna roll some more stuff. I'm just gonna
I'm gonna make shit up right here.
Ah,
I have a relationship with this person.
okay.
I just decided.
It is totally legit to like at the start of a conflict or mid conflict just be like, I have a relationship with this person, and assign some dice to it if you want, if you decide. Because like often that's when we discover that how we feel about a character in this story is that they're important is like while we're fighting them. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
or you can escalate, you can pull a gun. There is always that option.
Absolutely.
That's something we haven't talked about as
Just
much.
punch
but
her in the face.
if
Just
we're
punch
in
this old badass dog in the
the
face.
order of escalation goes talking, and then physical non-fighting, and then fighting, and then gunfighting. So like if words aren't getting through to someone, you can like beat it into them, and that's like the same stakes apply. You just get to roll in more dice. So
Yeah.
if you were to immediately pull your gun, you would roll your will pool into the conflict and do that. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
so
yeah,
would she normally if she were a fully fledged character, but this is just the initiation conflict, so I only have the dice that we're talking about here.
yeah. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go behind her back and talk to one of the scripture teachers and see if I can get them to back me up on this.
Oh
Like,
god.
she's
You
like
you weasel.
she's right, but at the same time, there are two sides to every story, which is another trait of mine, which is a D8 trait. Well, I'm gonna try and get somebody on my side to come and have this argument with her for me.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Let me just see that one real quick.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's gonna be awful.
Oh, I'm ready.
Almost.
Ooh,
Oh,
look at you.
Well, Dave, you still need to find 9 to add to that, so it's going to be a big.
and then we have 1-3. All right, here we go. Here we go.
Look at all this fallout. I'm
11.
ready.
13. 15. 16. 17. There we go.
You did it.
It's not going to be pretty, but yeah, I bring in one of the masters of scriptures who's like happy with the work that I've been doing. And I try and bring him in on my side. I don't know who he's going to be.
Okay, it's brother
Pleasant.
Hebediah.
Ebediah.
And so yeah, you can raise with whatever dice, and that'll be Hebediah coming in.
I'm going to raise with
2.
yeah. Oh yeah.
I wonder if he'll be able to beat this.
Hebediah comes in
Ebediah.
with you to like see her, I guess.
Yeah.
Or maybe this is you like showing him your translation because he wants to see it, right? To be like, well, what's all this fuss
yeah,
about?
Totally. Yeah.
And so, yeah, he's like leafing through it, and you're like, yeah, this guy's going to be on my side. And he just like frowns, and then like his frown kind of deepens, and he's just like,
Oh, rip.
no, this is wrong. This is all kinds of wrong. Now,
Poor Dave.
yeah, I've been studying this book my whole life, boy, and I can tell you that you're missing some fundamental. I mean, it's just. I understand, you've gone out east. You think you've learned a thing or two, but this book is more than just the words on the page. Now, you can translate the words, but you might miss the meaning, is what I'm getting at. That the meaning runs deeper. It's the roots of the tree that you don't see. You're up there looking at the leaves. You need to think about the roots. And he like presses your little folio of translation like into your chest.
Yep.
Yeah. You go and think on that. I understand that you mean well. You just think about the roots. And he like hands you your book and like pats you on the shoulder, like encouragingly, like he's trying to like support you in your efforts, but also that he thinks that you just don't know shit.
Yeah, I fold. I fold. That's. I've been told by 2 of my superiors that I'm totally missing something important.
And so, what does Ramaya take away from that? Like, what's your trait going to be? How you gonna spend that?
I think he's still. Yeah, it's not like it's not going to be like a really concrete one. I think it's going to be something like really difficult that's going to make my life hard later on, along the lines of yeah, knowledge and faith are like oil and water.
Oh dear.
Yeah, he's come away from that being like, I've had two parts to my life and they're not mixing.
Yeah, yeah. It's like it embodies this like internal like conflict or struggle that he has around reconciling these two parts of his life. That's really cool. And then you're also going to roll 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 64 follow.
I
you
would,
got a 1.
I would
Yay.
roll the 4s then.
So you also get to, you can add another D6 trait or add a die to an existing trait or add one to one of your stats or, yeah, so you can add or subtract. You can change the die size of an existing trait one step, create a new relationship with 1d6, all that stuff for traits and relationships. Or you can use that follow to add a thing, but that's kind of less relevant at this stage, I feel like.
Right. Yeah.
Unless you want to detail your little folio and keep that as an object that you carry around with you.
Yeah, I think that's the most relevant. I think I'm gonna. Yeah, let's
You have your like incomplete translation of the Book of Life or retranslation, I guess.
Yeah, let's put that down as yeah, well before I guess the book is a D6, I can have a D4 book. So if I'm ever trying to like quote scriptures at people and stuff, I'll go to mine first and everyone around gonna be like, that's not what I heard. Like that's not what
This sounds like the passage I remember, but different in this one.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. And so the three of you get set up as a little team, and you're assigned a route that's going to take you kind of like north and into, oops, deleted too much. North and into the hills. It's basically like a route that runs that kind of skirts the edge of the territories to the north, where there's a range of mountains and a lot more like forests, pine forests, that kind of thing. So you're traveling in like foothills and it's an area that has where like a lot of mountain folk are still. They kind of have been driven out of or like forced out of the easier terrain, the like arable land, all that kind of stuff, which the faithful are now cultivating. And so your route takes you there. And so over the course of like, probably takes you like a week to get to your first town, riding on horseback, camping out. You've got this big bag of mail. Who's carrying the mail?
I would gladly carry the mail.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so you've got this big like burlap sack full of parcels and letters and various, mail of all shapes and sizes. And the first town that you're scheduled to stop at is called Riverbend, and there's like, I mean, it's not really like, you wouldn't call it a river, it's more of a creek, but it's like coming down out of the hills and mountains. There's this little like very small river that the town is kind of clustered around right on the edge of a pine forest. And like at a distance, it's like the town is really spread out. And you can see you'll see like one farmhouse, and then you'll keep riding, and like an hour later you'll pass another farmhouse. And still a ways down, there's a little town clustered around this river. Maybe like 5 or 6 buildings. There's the clear like town hall spot, which like doubles as a church and meeting place and all around like community center. And then a couple of low, like one-story buildings clustered around it, huddled around it. And it's at this point probably autumn, so it's starting to get a little bit colder. And the clouds like sweep across the sky and are kind of looking like windswept. And you're showing up close to dusk. They're like birds kind of drifting back towards the forest in the twilight as you like pull up to the town center. And there's like, you haven't seen anyone.
Okay, is there like a building that looks like it's probably the most populated building? You know, like
With lights on or anything?
Yeah.
I think maybe there are lights on. There's like sign of lights from inside the like town hall.
Okay.
And as you like approach the door, you can kind of hear voices from inside, and it sounds like a tense conversation is happening.
Okay.
And there's like a little bit of like echoiness, like this space is fairly large inside there. And you open the doors, and it's clear that there's like a meeting going on, and there are 20 or so people in here. And the town steward, what you assume is the town steward, who you were told is named Brother something or other, Brother Hamilton, is on like it's like there's not like a stage with a pulpit on it, but he's at this like, speaking stand. And so he's raised maybe like 4 inches or whatever. And he's a like heavy set older man, bald. He's got a hat like hanging on the corner of his little pulpit. And he's bald headed, short cropped gray hair, thick arms. Like he's obviously like worked in fields a lot or has like done a lot of labor in his life. But getting older and kind of slowing down. And he's got his like, like a linen shirt, buttoned all the way up, and suspenders and some like brown slacks, kind of very conventional clothing for the time and place.
So, if we head inside, I just sort of slide like in and like stand near the door at the back. Like if I don't want to interrupt if anything's being said, not me personally anyway. And I imagine Sister Charity is like a beanpole, like she's like probably slightly over 6 feet and like a little skinny.
Mm-hmm.
The coil of rope is around one shoulder, and the axe is in one hand, and it sort of just like leans against the wall, where she leaves it.
Yeah,
and she sort of waits for things to calm down. I don't know what the other two are doing.
Yeah, and Brother Hamilton is like talking at someone in the pews. There's another man standing up, and yeah, Brother Hamilton is saying like, "Well, I'm sure that soon enough they'll come back, and we need to be ready after what you did. So, think on it. Think real hard on it and what you've wrought, Josiah." And then presumably Brother Josiah just replies with like, "And that's why I'm saying we ought to leave. We ought to leave soon. It's a long way back to, what's the name of the capital?
Bridal Falls.
Bridal Falls, yeah. It's a long way back to Bridal Falls." And at this point, Brother Hamilton like notices y'all in the back corner and just says, like almost kind of mutters it, but it carries through the whole room because of the acoustics. He's just like, "Well, maybe brothers and sisters, our salvation is here. The King of Life does look after us, it seems." And he kind of like gestures to the back of the room at the three of you.
I think Clementine takes a lot of care in everything she does, so she takes a bit longer to like get off her horse, like tie it up, like brush it down a little bit, like maybe give it a bit of sugar, and comes in like with some of the mail for this place, like as he's saying like maybe the King of Life looks after us. I think Sister Clementine is like the way she acts and the way she is kind of lends itself towards being small. Like she wants to be unobtrusive. And so she's, you know, she's got like brown hair, like very simply like tied back, and her coat is also just like a sable colored, very simple. And so she like pokes her head through the door, like carrying like some of the mail meant for the village, and she says, "Indeed, the King of Life looks after his own. How are things here, brother?"
And like Hamilton goes to speak, but Josiah like talks over him, which is really inappropriate.
I'm gonna call that out. Like,
And so yeah, Josiah's like, well, we're fit to receive a right invasion of mountain folk here.
My good man, I do not believe the sister addressed you.
Yeah, and he like locks eyes with you, Ramaya, and it's just like he goes quiet, but you can like he's just staring you down. While this whole other interaction happens, where Hamilton speaks in, Josiah is not wrong, impertinent though he may be. We have been in conflict with the mountain folk, and we are worried that they are coming back at us on account of some shit he did. No, he doesn't say shit. It's a little steward, sorry. On account of what he did. So he is right to be worried, and Hamilton looks at him, and it's obvious that there's like bad blood between these two. But then he looks back to you, not Charity, your name is
Clementine.
He looks back to you, Clementine, and says, y'all could not have arrived at a more timely moment. We're just deciding what to do, and certainly could use your help.
Whatever tools myself and my brother and sister have to offer are available to you, good sir. And she like walks up like to the group of people, and like I'm assuming that the steward would take the mail and hand it out amongst the folk, or would I like know everyone by name and be handing the mail?
Yeah, how do you want to run it? Because like there could be a protocol to this, and your character could be maintaining that or breaking it, up to you. What do you think it is?
I'd just like to interject real quickly, brother. Like as Sister Clementine says, whatever tools my brother and sister can bring, I kind of like pull my shoulders back, locking eyes with Josiah, and I've got 2 guns, like both like under each arm. So I'm just like,
yeah, you're picking up on what he's.
I also definitely I definitely make no like small effort even to hide, you know, the very sharp, large axe leaning against the wall next to me. Like,
and you have a gun as well, right?
You brought it
no,
in?
I don't have a gun.
You don't have a gun. You just have rope and an axe.
Yep.
Great.
wow.
And is it like a big axe or an excellent
It is
axe?
a big axe, yes. It is D8 axe. The rope is 2d6 rope, however.
So it's an excellent rope. Some fine rope.
I would say that probably ordinarily, just out of wanting to get their job done quicker, the mail is just handed off to the steward. But Clementine, Sister Clementine, is she kind of wants to show that she knows who these people are. And so she takes the time to go around the group and hand off any mail, and like address each person by name and be like, "Oh, here you are. It appears your sister just got back from blah, blah, blah." Or, "How is your cousin doing?" And like she's inquiring after like if they had any hurts that they asked the dogs to heal, like she would know about it. She's very attentive.
Okay, yeah, so she's actually like connecting with the people.
Yeah.
Like who are you related to in this town?
I might have cousins, but I don't think I have any close relatives anymore. I feel like the town that I lived in probably suffered a similar attack.
Yeah, it got wiped out by
Mountain people.
mountain folk, or like something
Who
wiped it out
I'm
and people aren't sure and assume it's mountain folk.
maybe, yeah. Maybe it's like I wasn't there and when I came back it was gone, burned or something.
Oh wow.
And
Okay, cool.
nobody that was there survived to tell what happened.
All right. Well, your cousin and sister Honora is here.
Okay, my cousin, sister Honora.
Um, and she is married to. Am I real rude? Is she Josiah's wife? Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
Josiah's wife. All right.
Honora, sister Honora, Josiah's wife, is your cousin.
I will write that down.
Yeah, you can
So
just.
Josiah is the one that's angry, right? So I don't think that I have any mail for them, but I go up to Sister Honora last, and I take her like hand in both of mine, and I say it's good to see you, sister, and inquire after like if they have any children yet because they're married, so and how their holdings are doing.
And yeah, like very meekly, and like maybe she's changed since the last time you met her, which was before her marriage. She used to be really like vivacious and this like wonderful, like ebullient person. And now she's just like super mousy and quiet and just like, oh, no children yet. Lord willing, we'll have some next year. And like, she very deliberately isn't looking at her husband, who is standing right behind her, glowering at you.
And then I say, the King of Life provides for his people and his family. As long as you are faithful, you will be blessed with children. I am sure of it. And then I turn to Josiah and to other guy, Hamilton. And I say, perhaps we should sit and discuss these possible attacks. And I turn back towards the Charity and Brother Ramaya, and I say, should we not?
Well, if it's as urgent as his face is making out to be, do we got time?
Yeah, and Hamilton is still engaging with y'all. Josiah is like scooping up his wife and heading for the door. And Hamilton is saying, well, we don't know. I mean, for my part, I'm not even sure they're going to come back on us. Sometimes they just move on. They don't settle down like we do. So maybe they just move along. Maybe they don't think it's worth their time. My concern is with the safety of my people, and I want to be ready.
As Josiah like leaves, I'd like to intercept him to speak outside.
Great. Okay, well let's follow that, and then we'll come back to this conversation.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, he's like.
So as he leaves, I sort of come out behind him and say like, hold on a moment.
What do you want? And he turns to his wife and he just says, you go along. And then he turns.
I don't stop her if she leaves.
Yeah, and she like hustles off.
I'm curious as to exactly why this is your fault. It seems like Hamilton is blaming your actions for this.
Yeah, well, he the only one blaming me. It ain't on me.
What I'm saying is I haven't heard the details, and I'd like to hear them from you first.
Well, it's good to see that someone's reasonable among the three of you. Now, what happened is they came onto my farm, and they was thieving, and I shot one of them dead, as is my right, and as any other man would do in my place. Now, Hamilton, he's too soft. And he thinks we want to make nice with them. Well, I tell you right now, there's no making nice with them. They ain't like that. They're looking to play you and then move on.
I happen to agree insofar as shooting someone who's thieving on your land, stealing things from you, taking what belongs to good, righteous folk. I'll have a talk with Hamilton, and we'll see exactly what we can do about these non-cooperative mountain folk.
Yeah, and he's like putting his hat on. He's like, yeah, you see that you do. Me, I'll be looking to mine. We're going to move on.
And as he leaves, like, because I imagine this is sort of the end of the conversation, as he leaves, and starts turning, I end with like, go with the blessing of the King of Life.
Yeah, and he like goes off into the evening.
And sort of like, stoop my way back inside a little bit.
And so, yeah, you come back in on a conversation. Like, I think there's a bit more of like hubbub now. And like the other townsfolk are just like talking while Hamilton and the two of you are kind of like up near the pulpit talking business. So yeah, what line do y'all take with him?
I mean, if he's told us what happened, which I'm assuming that's what he did, because we were wanting to know.
Yeah. So his spin on it is that he had been working on setting up like trade and cooperation with the mountain folk,
Mm-hmm.
and that Josiah like didn't want to have anything to do with it. There was this whole other like political angle, and he doesn't mention anything about anyone like stealing, and he just says that Josiah like is in conflict with them, or is like doesn't.
Does he know that Josiah killed one of them?
He hasn't said anything about it.
Okay, so we just know that he has some conflict.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, he doesn't want to trade with them. He refuses to do business with them folks, and I can't force the man to sell his crops or do whatever it is that he is going to do with them. But it goes beyond that. He comes in and interferes with those that do want to make commerce with them, because the mountain folk do have access to some things that we simply do not here in town. Them that wanted to trade were doing so, and Josiah would come upon them, chase off them folks that he was trading with, and
well, by my reckoning, if he's saying he's going to be moving on, then you don't watch him leave. Have him say you good riddance. Seems like he's causing a lot of problems.
And he's like holding a copy of the Book of Life. He's got like from the pulpit, and he like holds it against his chest. And he's just like, now it is my sacred duty to look for the interests of those in my care, and I feel that I have let Josiah down.
And
if he were to leave, that would only ratify my error. I must make amends with him and make things right. He has put so much work into that farm. To see it simply go to dust in his absence would break my heart.
And Clementine like nods through this, and she's like, yes, we do not simply cut off an arm because you broke a nail. We must heal the wound, not just let it go. I do not think it is right to let Josiah just leave. I think that communication is key. If he really thinks that violence is coming, there's got to be a reason for it. I do not think he has told you all.
Well, to the matter of violence, and it's like clear that Hamilton was just avoiding this topic. Like how this all came upon us is that Josiah shot someone out on his farm 2 days back. Now, I only recently came to know of it this morning.
But why in the name of the King of Life would he go and do something like that?
Well, he says this man was stealing. Meanwhile, there are folks in town wanting to give him a proper burial out of respect for their people. Further to that, there are those saying they ain't fit to be buried among us. Many conflicts have risen up over the course of the day, and what you see here is the ultimate manifestation of all of that, and my attempts to reconcile the parties involved. Josiah remains obstinate. We have agreed among the townfolk to give a proper burial to the man he shot. Now, that is in the absence of being able to consult with his folks, him being dead and having no sign of filial connections.
And Sister Clementine is like taken aback when she hears that this man just like killed someone, and like gathers herself through the conversation. And then she says, "It will not do for any man to kill another simply for trespassing or any other crime. It is for the King of Life and the order to determine whether that man's punishment should have been death. It is not Brother Josiah's place to have taken his life, and Brother Josiah needs to answer for that. As for the body of the young man, he should be given to the King of Life, just as any other would. The mountain folk are strange, but they were faithful. It is his right to be buried, just as any of us would."
Yes, well, such was the argument that I took, and most in town are reasonable enough to agree, or will put aside their displeasure at that. As for Josiah needing to account for his actions, to be frank, it is a relief to me that you are here and can hold him to account, for I find that in my old age I do not have the heart for it. I have worked so long to build this town up, to tear away a piece of it would be to tear off a piece of myself. I was struggling with those actions, though I fear they are necessary. If you could speak with him and hear his side of the story and judge for yourself what you think the course is.
I do not judge for myself, brother. I judge for the King of Life.
It is as you say, in his name. And he
I imagine I'm sort of approaching at this point.
Yeah, you can come
outside.
on with this conversation anytime you want to.
And I sort of hear the last dregs of it, they're like, we'll see him for his side of the story, so on. Like, I've already done that. I'm going to things that I've heard. But I stand quietly. And wait.
And so, yeah, Hamilton introduces himself. He's like, "I'm Brother Hamilton, the steward here. And you are," and this is to you, Charity.
Oh, Sister Charity.
It is wonderful to have you here. I wish that circumstances were better, as I was telling your companions. Now, y'all will need somewhere to stay, and you're welcome here in the hall. We have a space set aside. I made sure that when we were building it, there were rooms to account for your passing through, those in your brothers and sisters in the order. And my wife will look to your, it doesn't say wife, it says my daughter will look to your taken care of in terms of a meal and anything else you might need. Sister, need to bookmark this page better. Sister Lavina is his daughter, and he like indicates her in the crowd, and she's like talking to some of the other folks. She lives close by. My homestead, being one of the first, is just down the way, other side of the river.
And I guess I ask Brother Hamilton, I say, you know this town and you know Brother Josiah. Do you think that we have time to settle and wait till the morning before we address this? Or is it a matter of urgency?
Well, I have half a mind to find out this Josiah fellow capable of giving a lick of respect to anyone. I ain't seen none so far. Perhaps in his own abode, he thinks we'll see more of his true color. Besides, I ain't tired.
I mean, certainly you must be after such a long day, and I have been wrestling with Josiah on this all day. I doubt that the man will be amenable to any chastising you might level at him. Rest for the night, let him do the same, and come at him in the morning when all tempers will have cooled, would be my opinion, though I will defer, of course, to you all in this matter. This is your area of expertise.
I've always found a man in his temper closer to his real self, though my sister's always been a little more of the placating type than I.
I speak up at this point in favor of one or the other, so to speak. And I say, you shouldn't allow a sin to rest for any amount of time. Quicker it's dealt with, quicker we can move on. But I'm not sure I exactly agree on just how much chastisement this fella is going to need.
Well, I will leave it to the three of you, as is your stewardship over the judgment of the sinful. And with the energy of youth that you all possess, I am sure that you will get to the bottom of this and can solve it in ways that I couldn't think to. My old bones do need to retire, though, so I trust you will excuse me.
Yeah,
Thank you, brother.
Says his goodbye.
I've been taking my riding gloves off, and like as he says, like ways that I couldn't imagine. I think I actually just like crack my knuckle.
Great.
So
Great.
like just amongst ourselves, like how would we what would the laws be in terms of like if someone kills someone outside of, the King of Life's jurisdiction, like what would we like typically do to
Well, this is a bit of a gray area, the whole idea of like, they're not faithful, these people, so then do the laws apply to them? Also, like, maybe they are, depending on how you view the mountain folk. And then further to that, there's, the whole idea of like killing people in general and what justifies
However, whatever we do is in the name of the faith. Therefore, no atrocity that we commit at all can be called.
Yeah, but how would we ordinarily?
Y'all have a license to kill. If you're asking like what are the rules?
I'm just saying, like,
around
amongst
killing?
ourselves, like, what do we determine would be the rules for this situation? So I know, like, how.
Like, what does the faith actually say about?
Yeah,
y'all should definitely talk it out on your way over to Josiah's if that's what you're doing tonight. But
Well, I just want to know what would be the punishment, because this man unlawfully killed another person. Whether that person was faithful or not is up for determination, I suppose. But like, if a man killed another person and he is not a dog, he doesn't have the right to do that.
No.
What would his punishment be? Death?
What
are we going to do?
Do those rules exist?
Well, we're determining in the universe if they do, right?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, let me see if there's a thing about killing and stuff like that. I know that y'all ultimately get to decide.
Yeah, the thing is, I think, we are not the force. We're not the force in the world that does things to do with the law. We do it whether we think it is just or not. Yeah, there's a secular government who also exists and says whether things are like unlawful killings. We talk about unjust killings.
So, and here I have the list of sins, so I can read those out and those can frame everything for you. And they are deliberately very open-ended. So like violence, it is a sin to harm or kill another person unless you have just cause. Self-defense and war are just causes. He slept with my wife is not. It's a sin to have sex with someone you aren't married to, unless all of the following are true. Your marriage is ordained in heaven. You're prevented from wedding by inescapable circumstances, and you wed as soon as you are able. It's a sin to lie, cheat, steal, or break promises. It's a sin to conspire against another person or to profit from another person's misfortune, which is the sin of disunity. Blasphemy, it's a sin to call upon the King of Life in an unworshipful manner. Apostasy, it's a sin to worship the King of Life in any way not according to the dictates of the faith. Call upon any god but the King of Life, or to turn to the demons for favors. Worldliness, it's a sin to dress immodestly, smoke tobacco, drink hard liquor, use vulgar language, sleep in the same room as an unbeliever, gamble for money, to work on a day set aside for worship, or to show comfort in the presence of sin. It is a sin also to neglect the duties of your office in the faith, which is the sin of faithlessness.
So we're saying that we have to determine whether his
sin
killing-
matches up to a punishment that we will determine.
Well, whether his killing of that man was in self-defense, I suppose.
Like if it was a sin at all,
Yeah.
and even if it is a sin,
I think
what is the punishment?
I
right?
think this is a good conversation to have, like in character.
Yeah,
Okay.
so-
I just wanted to know if there was a set rule that we're
No.
like in the universe about what we're supposed to do in the situation and whether we're going to do it or not.
It is deliberately up to y'all to decide, but those are like the little framework that you have to work with. Now,
Okay.
I'm imagining this happening like as you all are walking.
As we're walking to the farmhouse or whatever.
It got
Yeah.
dark to this farmhouse. Yeah.
I mean, will we not be taking our horses?
I don't think it's far enough.
It's not
right?
that far.
I mean, y'all can walk or ride there. If you're in a hurry, you could ride quickly, but it's nighttime, so you probably can't ride that quickly.
I would say that we would rest our horses if it's not too
Yeah.
far because we've been journeying all day, right?
It's walking distance, and like Josiah and Honora were walking back.
Okay. So like if you're both determined to go, then I will go with you. Definitely. And like as we're going, I think I'm looking through my book, like looking through it for guidance in this, like thumbing through it for passages that like speak to me, I suppose.
While I sort of see you like leafing through your book as we're walking and like looking for that inspiration, that guidance from the King of Life, you know, and say, are you looking for something to help our man out here avoid judgment? Because I think it ain't gonna matter too much. We got he might have shot one of these mountain heathens, but
Oh, please do excuse your presuppositions there, sister. We don't know this mountain fella from his neighbor. Now,
fair enough. It's just what I always seen.
yes, well, maybe you ain't seen enough mountain folk. Maybe on our travels, make a real decision.
And like I look up from my book and I look over to this like argument.
All I'm saying is if it was theft and then a killing, I don't know. I think we got some grounds here to talk about this, you know?
I think communication is key. I was simply looking for my book for guidance and inspiration from the King of Life. This matter is complicated. We do not know and cannot speak to the dead man. All we have to go on is the word of Brother Josiah. Lying is a sin, and so is unjust murder, and we must address these. But I do not think simply killing a man for any reason is something that should have been done, and it should not be done again. Certainly not by us.
I don't necessarily disagree. But I have a trait, by the way, Dave, called what is it? I rush to quick judgment.
Yeah, totally. Like we've set out on this journey. We know of each other, but we don't know each other's stuff yet. So we'll have these totally legit.
And so I think at this point, y'all come up to this guy's porch or whatever. And it's like a decently appointed little one-story house. It's got a small porch over the door. There's like a little overhang. And there's a chair on it. And there's a lantern hanging by the door, but it's not lit. And there's some light coming from inside. But there's no sound. Do y'all just knock, or?
Yeah,
Let's make sure he hears us, huh? And I use the backside of this axe to just kong, 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 like on the door as loud as possible.
Yeah, and so Honora comes to the door, and it's clear that like the door is right next to the like kitchen, like the stove and everything. And so yeah, she comes to the door and like opens it a crack and peers out at you, sees that it's you guys, and then like steps outside and closes the door behind her. And she says, "Good evening."
Sister, we have come to speak to your husband.
"Oh, well, he's just gone to bed."
It is a matter of some importance, sister.
"Well, I'll wake him, but he's very out of sorts in the evening. He's tired. He worked all day and then had to defend himself in front of the steward."
If you'd prefer, I can wake him.
And as a point of curiosity, why ain't you joined him?
Sorry, what was that?
Why hasn't she joined him? Like,
Oh.
Why ain't you joined him? Why ain't you in bed?
Well, the time that I would normally be cleaning and tidying up was taken up by the meeting, and I felt that it was important I'd be there with my husband, show some support. And so now I have to catch up. That's all.
Very diligent of you. But if you could, go and fetch him.
Yes,
You
and
don't-
I have some small things left over, and so she like takes you inside and like sits you all at a table and like manages to find some like food. There's like some cold meat, like salted pork or something that she had cooked earlier, and some bread that's just starting to get a little bit hard, that she lays out. And then she like hurries off to another part of the house, and you hear her like talking in hushed tones with her husband and like creaking as he gets his clothes on and like puts his boots on and stuff. And there's a little bit of like grumbling from the other room. But he eventually walks out, alone. Honora doesn't come with him. And he, without saying a word, like pulls up the fourth chair and sits on it. And just like looks at y'all waiting for you to speak.
I leave the floor to my two much more capable talking companions.
Well, I don't know if I'm capable, but I'm definitely got things to say to him. I say, rather you could join us. I appreciate it's late, but King of Life don't wait on anyway. We heard from our good sister there was an incident.
And I guess Clementine tries to set everyone at ease. And she's calmly like breaking bread. And she says, "We have come to talk with you, Josiah. It seems that there are things that need to be clarified. We just wish to speak. You could be truthful. It would be very helpful in resolving this matter."
Well, I already told one of you, and he looks at Charity, what I did, seeing no need to talk around the topic, laid it out plain. I don't know what more I have to say on the matter.
Well, Josiah, you do know that killing a man is a sin.
Well, if I've killed a man, then I must make amends. But in my estimation, no such thing has taken place.
Okay, I stand up and I like slam my hands on the table. I was like, now, I don't think you took the proper time make that judgment. I don't think it's quite your place as a simple member of the flock to choose this fella's his worth in the name of the King of Life.
I
Do
could
you?
only weigh it against the worth of my family and our safety.
Now, that seems awful hasty to me. You saw him, what, for a moment? He was a
That's
real...
one way. You live
What?
out here alone, exposed, with them in numbers circling you like a vulture, day in, day out, always after what you got, what you built, what you work with your hands and your sweat to make. And you see how you respond when they come to take it. You, your gun, and not one other thing between you and the other side, should they choose to take that course.
And I like put my hand on both of their arms and I say, Brother Ramaya, and I look up at you. Before we come to judgment, I do believe that we need to hear in detail what exactly occurred here. This is a complicated matter. Brother
See, that's where you're
Josiah,
wrong. It's simple. He come upon me. He's stealing in my farm. I shot him dead, lest he come to try to take my life, along with what I worked to make, or the life of my wife, whom I dearly love and must care for, as is my duty as her husband. It is a very simple thing, which is what I have tried to explain to the steward and to any others who try to muddy the issue.
Now, you see, this is what I meant when I said those things earlier, Brother Amaya. Just, if they're so faithful, then stealing's a sin too.
a sin that should not be punished by one other than the dogs.
Well, then y'all should have arrived a week sooner.
You should have waited. You should have had patience.
Well, I had no opportunity to wait while he was fleecing me of all that I had made.
What did this man take from you?
Now, what does Josiah grow on his farm? I think he grows... you know what? Maybe he has some livestock. And so, yeah, it's like... He had already killed one of my goats, was fixing to do it to another and carry them both off.
Did you see this man in the action of killing your goats, or are you assuming that it was him?
He had the goat over his shoulder, having cut its throat and tied its legs together. He was fixing to grab a second one. His companion, whom I did not see on the other side of the barn, took flight upon me killing his companion. I spared the second one that I might deal with the goats.
So there is still another man yet living that was participated in this? Where is he?
There is some animal running about in the hills, yes, who may have seen something. I wish you all the best in finding them or getting any words out of them that make sense.
Now, while this is it seems you did have good course to be wary of this fellow. I ain't saying you done something I wouldn't have done myself, but something ain't sitting right about this. And I think you're not exactly sure who it is that you're talking to. And I would appreciate a little respect towards myself and my sisters or I'm liable to look unfavorably upon your actions.
It's all well and good for you all to demand respect while giving me none and offering no sympathies to my situation.
I
All I
heard
would
no
ask
one.
from you is the understanding that things out here work a certain way that maybe y'all aren't familiar with. Is this your first town on your circuit? I
I'd
expect it
heard
is.
no one disrespecting you, sir. Now calm yourself down and don't be talking over me. Thank you.
Not used to making space for women folk to talk. I apologize.
Okay, I punch him in the face.
I guess that's a conflict.
Sorry.
I guess that's a conflict.
Yeah, so you want to start a fight with this guy?
Yep, we're fine. I
Well,
mean,
rip this guy.
that's the thing, right? It's like I feel like I'm being just in coming to the defense of them, but also I'm doing it because
Yeah,
I'm
you're also doing it. Yeah, exactly. I'm not punching him. You're punching him.
Yep.
See, this is why patriarchy and misogyny are hilarious, because even people that they're doing good are often still perpetuating it.
Yep.
Okay, let me stat out Josiah here. Just give me a second.
Do we want to take a break?
Yeah, now's as good a time as any, because I gotta
Yeah.
do a little bit of bookkeeping. So
We're going to take a quick break before Dave punches someone in the face. So everyone will be right back in just a little bit for the thrilling conclusion of Josiah getting punched in the face. See you guys in 5 minutes.